Hello. Hello there. Hello. What's up, guys? Welcome to another replay analysis with today Mr. Marfon. I hope I'm saying it close to accurate. I'm going to say Marfon. I think it's Marfon. I want to say Mayerfon, but I'll just say Marfon. Either way, much love. Thank you for doing this, dude. This is a ZvZ. This is a platinum range of skill. And basically, if you guys don't know what replay analysis are, it's going to be me helping out Mr. Marfon about how to get better at StarCraft. Mr. M. We'll call him Mr. M from now on so I don't fuck his name up every time. We're going to be helping Mr. M get better at StarCraft in every way we can. And we're going to see what he's doing. And all of that jazz. And he's got a Brood War hatchery. Look at it. It looks disgusting. It's great. But yeah, man. Let's do this. Also, this is a league match, I think, from like Google or something. It's like an internal league match. I don't know exactly. I probably am butchering that as well, but this is like an actual like tournament match type thing going on for like companies. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I've heard about this kind of stuff before. It's pretty sick. Google versus Peloton. There you go. Perfect. Yes, that is correct. All right, dude. Now, Mr. M, how can we help you today? First of all, your build's fine so far. Okay? Doing great. Drone, Overlord drone. Nicely done. The only thing you're not doing that I would love you to do is if you stacked close patches. I don't know if you have ever seen me talk about this, but I'll talk about this really fast. If you double-click a patch in the base, and you double-click another patch in the base, notice how it only selects 4. If I double-click this patch, it only selects 4. The difference is, it's the difference of far patches and close patches, and it actually has a difference in how close it is to your hatchery. The way you can also tell is if you click a far patch, it starts with 900. If you click a close patch, it starts with 1800. What you want to do, ideally, is you want to get 2 drones stacked on every close patch right away. And you can easily do it in the first 30 seconds of the game. And the reason why is because you start with 12 drones, which means you could have 4 drones on 2 patches and then 1 drone, or Jesus. You could have 2 drones on 4 patches and 1 drone on 4 patches because altogether that adds up to 12. So you can have all your close patches stacked on 12 out of 16. And you should definitely try to do that in the future because it does increase how fast your money goes up by a little bit. It makes your natural go down faster. It makes your pool go down faster. All that shit. It's very worth it. And right now, if I had to guess, you're doing literally nothing anyways. So work on that. Do that. Best way to do it is like this. When the game starts, you just go like this. First things first. You go, game starts, you go like this. Drone, make, Overlord, move, and you go like this. Drone, go stack patch. Drone, go stack patch. That's all literally all it would have taken, and you'd be done already. You could have done it in 8 seconds. Here's how this goes. And when the game starts, if you do not split your workers, which I'm not telling you that you have to, like you don't have to like do a spread on your drones right away as they're going to the middle line right away. It's more important to make your Overlord and your drone. Now, if you get really fast at it, you can also split your drones too. That's less demanding than making the drone and moving the Overlord. But if you can do it so fast that you can go drone, Overlord, split. If you're that fast, then great. That's fucking wonderful. But at the very least, make your drone, make your Overlord, and then when the drones all go to the middle line and then spread themselves out, they all go to the middle of the middle line first, which is far patches. So you will usually get stacked like crazy drones on the middle. That's just how it goes. So if you grab the middle drones when they come back to the hatchery, like when they're on their way back with the turn in, like this right here, this perfect. This drone right there, you go, hey drone, go there. This drone right here, go there. You just tell them to go to the far close patches. So like the patches on the far side of the middle line, but they are close patches to the hatchery. You just want to stack your close patches. And again, if you don't know which one it is a close patch, you can go to the replay, you can double click it, and now they're all selected. They're just what's closer visually to the hatchery. So it makes your workers have to go a little bit less distance to go back and forth to mine minerals, and it actually increases your income by like we'll just say this. If a drone could make 1 mineral per second on a patch that is close, it can make probably about 0.8 minerals a second on a patch that is far, or like 0.9. Like it's not like going to be, it's probably like more like 0.9. It's not going to be like, holy shit, this is like massively game changing. You could still win games and stuff like this without doing stacking of close patches, But it does give you a benefit, so why not do it? Especially when you have nothing else to do right now. You're just staring at nothing. You're just waiting, essentially. Just practice stacking your close patches. It's super useful. Are you a Zerg player? Raise your hand if you're a Zerg player and you're like, you know what? I fucking hate it when a Protoss player builds a pylon at my natural. When I'm trying to go for a 16 hatch and he shows up before I get there and he builds a pylon. That sucks. But if you actually do close patch stacking, shit like that will happen less often because you have more money to get it down faster. Otherwise, your build's fine still. Actually, no, it's not. I would say as well, I would prefer I would say it's definitely a good idea to go for a 16 hatch in ZvZ over a 17 hatch in ZvZ, and here's why. Look at this. I'll show you in a second. 2 reasons. As soon as it builds. Okay. So, and that was also kind of scary because you also waited a little bit of time to actually build it. So it's even scarier. But here's why a 16 hatch is better in ZvZ than a 17 hatch. 2 reasons. Number 1, the hatchery would be finished sooner than it would be. Well, like a 16 hatch will finish sooner at the natural than a 17 hatch would because you're investing less into drones for that time being and a faster hatchery. So obviously if it's a faster hatchery, it'll finish sooner. And why that's a big deal is because if it finishes sooner, not only does it make your hatchery like the ability to use your hatchery happen faster, where like you can now make your larva if you're getting all in. You can use you know, like you can make a queen at the hatchery. You can actually use the hatchery. That's one of the reasons why it's kind of nice to have your 16 hatch, because you can get it done quicker in case you get all in. The other reason, the more important one, is when a hatchery is under construction versus when a hatchery is finished, like this, it has 1 armor passively, as you can see right here. It says 0, but it's always going to say 0, but there are units in the game and buildings in the game that have passive armor. Even though it says their upgrade is 0, buildings can't actually get armor upgrades for Zerg. Protoss and Terran can, but Zerg can't. But even though it says 0 on the upgrade value, it actually has 1 armor. So what does this do? It removes 20% of damage off of Zerglings, which is a fucking lot. Now, if you have a hatchery that's under construction, it doesn't actually have armor. It takes full damage. So the longer this hatchery is in a little fucking egg here, sorry, excuse my language, I know I swear a lot. The longer the hatchery is under construction and it's in a big zit on the ground and it's not actually finished like this, it takes full damage. So your hatchery getting denied will be much more likely to happen if you don't have it done before it starts taking some serious damage. So 17 hatch in ZvZ is super risky because it increases the chances that your opponent, if they go for like a 12 pool, is going to be able to hit your hatchery for longer while it's under construction, which increases the chances it will die. So that's just scary. You do not want to give your opponent the advantage of doing that. So 16 hatch in ZvZ is by far superior. It just is. The amount of times you get all in ZvZ is quite often. It happens a lot. Like for all leagues, I would say. Yeah. It's important. There's problems happening right now. We'll talk about it in a second. Okay. I just wanted to see what your plan was. So, I think that was just a misrally for your drone that went down to the natural. It's whatever. I don't think you do that every game. If you do that every game, definitely stop doing that every game. You don't want to do that every game. The better idea for you to have, in my opinion, would be leave your second Overlord in front of your natural until your natural is like just about to finish, or as it finishes, either way. Because if you're like thinking to yourself, well, I send that down there for a scout vibe, like what if the Terran puts a bunker, or what if the Protoss puts a cannon rush, or what if the Zerg runs lings around my base, or has a drone sitting there to build a spine at some point? Don't do this. If you leave an Overlord in front of your natural, your second Overlord, not your first, because your first will still spot and see if your opponent's expanding. your second Overlord can sit in front of your natural and spot every type of cheese possible because it will be in your natural, like there, 100% before everything can all in you or do weird shit to you. Okay? So, and then when your natural's done, then you could send your second Overlord out across the map and do whatever you want to do with it. Like leave it at your opponent's third base or whatever. That'd be fine. But yeah, if you're doing that drone thing intentionally, don't ever do that. It's not good at all. It's just a waste of your resources. Secondly, you got to be a lot more assertive and quick about building your buildings. Now, it looks like you're doing beta GM, which is fine. I don't mind that your gas is delayed. But I'm going to watch your pool. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like your hatchery was late because you waited till you had like 50 minerals after. And let's look at your pool. You actually have a drone, which is good. I was too busy looking at the drone, I guess. But this is good. Your drone being at the location is nice. But do you actually build it? You actually build the pool there, I think. You have 200 at 111. And then you build it way over here. And you don't build it until 113. Not that bad, but why not just build it directly on top of the drone? Or if you're going to build it there, why not move your drone there and then build it there? Like, just build the building on top of itself so it builds immediately. So it's a bad habit is all I'm saying. Just make sure you're in the habit of, like, if you can, try to run your worker towards the location that you're going to build something at. So like, for instance, if you're going to build a drone or a hatchery, you don't want to run the drone there and then build the hatchery there. You don't want to run the drone within range of the middle of this egg, or this cocoon, whatever the fuck you want to call it, zit. And then you'd be like, okay, build a hatchery, and the drone's already there and it immediately starts a hatchery. It doesn't have to run somewhere to build it. Same rule applies to all of your buildings. So you'd want to run a drone to like right here off of your mineral line, or you could do it with a new drone out of an egg, either way, when you have like 180 minerals. And like, it would ideally you'd want to start it right when you have 200. Gas starting when you have 20 supply as well would be fine. That is very B to GME, which is totally fine. But yeah, your drone starting at 20 supply is totally fine. So your build's not that bad yet. It's not like awful. It could be better though. For all the things we just talked about, it could be better. Okay, you have a queen started. You have another queen started. You have drone started. You had an overlord just pop out. It's all looking fine. You rallied your hatchery to the natural. All looks good. And now you see he took a natural, which is fine. Now here's a big, humongous, massive tip in ZvZ. Do not ever do this. Do not ever do this. You're leaving the middle of the map, which is the most commonly moved out location, completely fucking blind. Overlord 1, which is the one that scouts and sees if he expanded or not, should cover the front general main area he's going to abuse. So like if Overlord 1 was like right there, that'd be fucking great. And the reason why is because you could spot anything that comes down this ramp, and you could spot a lot of shit that goes this way, and you could possibly spot stuff that goes this way if your Overlord's like right there. You could spot like everything in the area. Then, as Overlord number 2 comes across the map, Overlord number 2 could go either right there, or it could go right here. When Overlord 2 comes over here, the goal is imagine like these are doorways out of your opponent's base. You got door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. Okay? You want every door to have an eyeball on it. You do not want one of these doors to be fucking blind for like 2 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever. You want every door to be seen at all times. Because for all you know, this dude could be making fucking masslings and about to flood you. You don't know this, but he could. So if you bring Overlord number 2, so ideally what we're going to want to do is eventually have 3 Overlords over here for 1 Overlord per door. But if you have Overlord number 1 on top of the middle of all 3 doorways, like right there. This is not perfect. It's perfect for now, early in the game, before your queens are done. But it's not perfect forever, because if this dude makes a creep tumor, or when the creep spreads further, if he pulls 2 queens out, he could easily kill an Overlord that's right there. That's kind of an exposed, risky Overlord. So, Overlord number 2 is going to the south side, which is fine. Overlord number 3 would then want to go to the opposite north side, the other side. But if we're going to have Overlord number 2 come this way, and let's say Overlord 2 sits here. Overlord 2 sits right there. So we not only spot if there's a third base that's going to start there, but we also see door number 1. This is door number 1, right? So we completely see it. There's no Zergling that could run past an Overlord if it stops like right there. We would always see a Zergling no matter where it goes. That Overlord has enough vision range to spot this entire ramp and anything that goes around it. So what we could do with Overlord 2 then is instead of having our Overlord so exposed like up here so we could spot this cliffside, we can back off that cliffside now and just cover these 2 ramps. So this Overlord could back from there to like there. And now suddenly Overlord 1 is covering doors 2 and 3 in a safer location further away from the natural, or from the opponent's natural, so it's not going to die. And then when Overlord 3 comes across the map, we'll send it like let's say like right there, right here, or whatever. It's going to spot for this potential third base. It's also going to spot and see if any Zerglings want to go anywhere around this doorway, because if it's sitting right there, it easily sees everywhere around this doorway. So we can move this Overlord back again down to like right there. Does that make sense? We're keeping Overlords at a safe distance as we get more of them, but we're always covering the doors, the exits. And then once you have Overlords 1, 2, and 3 at your opponent's doorways, fill in the exact same locations. Once you have all 3 there, and there, fill in the same 3 for you being there, and there. You could fill in your own 1, 2, 3. So Overlords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are on doorways 1, 2, 3 of his base and doorways 1, 2, 3 of your base. So that way you can always spot Ling aggression and Baneling aggression and Roach aggression wherever it goes in the early game of ZvZ. It is super important to do this. Overlords 7 and 8, 9, 10, whatever, as many as you want to do. You can put an Overlord like right there. You can put an Overlord like right there. You can put an Overlord like right there. You can put more Overlords in other spots. Like you could fill in the middle of the map here and there as you go. That'd be totally fine. I would say at max, maybe put like up to 8 Overlords on the map and then stop. The only time it ever makes sense to put more than 8 Overlords on the map is if you know for a fact it's not Spire, and you also know for a fact that you're going to be able to save them if he does try to kill them with something, because you have Overlord speed. You don't obviously want to rush Overlord speed. I'm not telling you to do that. I hope I'm not confusing you. Like, Overlord speed is something that can come into ZvZ once you're like at 130 supply or like 120 supply. Like you're much higher in supply, 3 base fully saturated, that kind of deal. That's when you can go for Overlord speed. That's more appropriate. You don't want to rush Overlord speed in ZvZ because gas is pretty impactful based on the fact that it can make Roaches, Lings, Banes, or take your layer. Or get an upgrade of like, that's something more important, like +1 range weapons or +1 melee weapons or whatever the fuck you want to do. But just getting your initial 6 Overlords, those are critical. Doorways being covered, that is super important. So right now you're totally lacking that, and right now this dude could all on you and you would have no idea. That is a fucking scary thing. Secondly, you're making your Evo chamber way too early. You're making your buildings before you even have your queens done. This is way too fast. And now if I look at your larva, you are guaranteed going to have larva sitting there, and you are not going to be able to spend it. Just know this, okay? Up to 2 base saturation, if you ever have larva sitting at your hatchery for more than 1 second or more than 2 seconds, I'll be fair and say 2 seconds. If you have larva sitting at your hatchery for more than 2 seconds per larva, your build sucks. That's just what it means. You should have 0 larva sitting at your hatcheries at all times because you're going 5 SD, make larva, 5 SD, make larva, 5 SD, make larva. But now, with doing this, before you can actually afford it, it's throwing your entire build off, and you guaranteed will have larva sitting there now. Guaranteed. That's way too fast. Because now you're losing 3 miners early on in the game, and you cannot afford this fast. So watch your larva. It will guaranteed go up. And ideally as well, with the build, you want to start your layer as your queen is done, essentially. And you can't afford to do it right now. You physically can't afford it. Because if you make a layer, like your gas is going to go crazy now. If you make a layer right now, like this cost is going to fuck over your larva. It's just too much. And if you delay your layer like crazy, you're going to have unupgraded roaches for a long time, which is also not great either. You started a +1 weapons before layer. I don't like it. Do it after layer. So first 100 gas goes layer, second 100 gas goes +1 weapons, third 100 gas goes into roach speed. Your evos are way too early, man. So the appropriate time to make your... And you're probably like, well, ViBE, you're telling me a lot about that it's wrong. But what is right then? I haven't got there yet. We're still not... You still should not even have started these buildings yet. Even now, you still should not have started these buildings. That's how early it is. They're done before they should even have been started. You should start them right now. And here's why. You want to build these buildings in front of your base when you have spent all of the larvae off of your very first inject. Then you build these buildings. Because what that means is the roach warren will be finishing just after the layer. The Evo chamber will be finishing probably just before the layer because the roach warren has a longer build time than an Evo chamber. And it will allow you to go into... And here's the crazy thing as well. You'll be having the roach warren finish as you have saturated 2 bases. So like your roach warren will be done mostly around the point when you have about 40 drones. Roughly about 40 drones is when you should be finishing this roach warren. So that you could have 3 gases saturated. You could have 2 fully mineralized saturated bases. And you're getting ready to take your 3rd and the roach warren's finishing. So then you're actually ready to make roaches. The only time I would ever say this wall would make sense... There's two problems with your wall, by the way. Number 1 is how early it is, and number 2 is the positioning of it. This wall positionally is awful. And I'll tell you in a second about how to fix that. But the 2 things wrong with this wall are, number 1 is you can't even... If you were to make roaches right now, you can't even make drones now. So it's way too early for roach warren. It makes no sense. Like you're not even close to full saturation yet. You need to make another like 12 drones here, like 13 drones here, because you still have to make the gas as well. And you still haven't even started to layer yet. And so if you make roaches right now, your build is super all in with roaches, essentially. It's very awkward. The only time you would ever want to make an early wall is if you scouted your opponent was 1-basing you. And they were going to do like a 1-base flood. But you already know he's not because your first overlord scouted. There's already creep here, and he expanded. So you already know you're not getting 1-base all in. Now... Another problem with your wall is this wall is Lings cannot run between that wall there and the Evo chamber, but Lings could run here, down, up. They could run on the top and the right side of your roach warren. They could run on the side of your roach warren, on both sides of your roach warren. They could also run, if they run this way, they could run between your hatchery and your Evo chamber. So this base... is like, imagine, like, what it's like is imagine holding your hand out and like trying to pour water on top of your fingers and watching water just go through every fucking crevice in your hand. That's what your wall's like. It has so many fucking holes in it right now that it would do nothing if Lings flooded that wall. Like Lings would pour through it like water would, and you'd be like, fuck, it's everywhere. Oh my God. I can't stop anything. So the way to fix it is the first Evo chamber is fine. If you thought you were getting all in, if you're like, oh God, he's going to all in me. This dude is all in. That should be a roach warren because that's part of actually what could be a wall. And then you would let your creep establish a little bit more for a few more seconds and add in Evo chamber, Evo chamber, Evo, like whatever, just add in, like do a diagonal wall to the other wall. So this is paranoia. Because, for instance, if we look at it like this, just remember, we're at 322, okay? Look at this. This is 100% paranoia. You make your Evo chambers at 230, okay? Because you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to die to a speeding all in. That's the only reason why you're making this wall this fast. It has to be. Now, one of them could be for the upgrade, but that, again, if we're doing a B to G build, this upgrade's way too early. It should be the layer first. But you're trying to make the wall at 230. You're starting the wall at 230. Look what you can have done by 230. You could have made 4 slowlings by 230. That's it. Look at your opponent. What is he doing? You guys are both doing the same fucking thing, kinda. But the point is the fact that you know he expanded, you're limited because if your opponent expands, he can't have mass ling flood hitting you right now. It's just not possible. Right now. Is it not possible all game? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just not possible right now. And look at your creep already. It just takes a few more seconds. And you could have already put your wall going diagonally up into your fucking other wall, which would have made your wall not be gaps everywhere. It just takes a few more seconds. For just to throw it out there, builds that go for an expansion and then speedlings, speed is not even done until roughly around 330. Just so everyone is aware of that. 330 is roughly the exact time, like anywhere, like, because not everyone takes gas at the exact same time, but in general, if someone goes for a speedling expand, they're not going to have speed until 330. Okay, that's usually how it is. Yo, special, thank you for the raid, man. I'm doing a replay analysis right now, but much love, dude. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. This is a B2GM replay analysis. Much appreciated. Okay, we're back to where we were. Also, another thing is you're missing out on your queens. You definitely want to be making a third queen out of your natural the second your first queen's done. So you want to have 3 queens, and if you actually did do that, I know you didn't micro anything here, which is fine. I'm not saying that you have to micro, but if you just made 3 queens, you would have killed those 2 lings and not a single drone would have died. But those 2 lings just killed 2 drones, which is, that guy just got great larva trade. He just got a 2-for-1 basically. He just killed 100 minerals for his 50 investment, and he just killed 2 larva for his 1 larva investment. And he also scouted. So that was a great trade for your opponent. And if you would have just made an extra queen, which is part of the build by standard, you would have crushed that. Like, it would have scouted less, it would have killed nothing, and it would have been a great trade for you then. Your roaches are way too fast. Way too fast. And now you're taking the 3rd base. So if you're like, this is like a very diluted, degraded version of beta GM. Again, you don't want to make the roaches until you're fully saturated. Yeah. The only exception.
Great content as always, less than 3.
Yeah, Arstein, thank you very much for the 8 months up, dude. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, thank you. The only exception to making roaches before you're fully saturated on 2 bases is if you're getting all in. And you already have 2 pieces, like you really have 3 pieces of information. There are 3 pieces of information your opponent has already given you that tells you he is not all-inning you. Number 1, he's got a 3rd base. He invested into a 3rd base, so you're not getting all-in like really fast. If this is going to become an all-in, it would be like an all-in that would hit a little bit later, which would easily, okay, this is the really hard part. I need to make sure you understand. All-in does not always mean he has to hit you at the exact same time, okay? Yes, someone could do a 2-base all-in, someone could do a 3-base all-in, someone could do a 1-base all-in. These are all different timers, okay? They all happen at different times in the game. You cannot fucking expand and then all-in just as fast as someone else who is doing no expansion and an all-in. It's not the same thing. It's still, both could still be an all-in, but they hit different times. So, the fact that you know your opponent has expanded, and the fact that you know your opponent has taken a 3rd base, and the last piece of information, the fact that you see creep being spread out of your opponent's base, tells you he's not injecting his hatchery as much. He's instead either making extra queens to spawn larva with, or to spawn creep with, or he just straight up didn't inject and he made a creep tumor. He's putting extra investment into setting up his base more. All of these things tell you this guy is not doing a 1-base all into you. And the fact of how fast he made roaches right now, this is how fast you should be making roaches if you were going to get 1-base all in. If you're going to go for a roach response to that. So you're totally playing super paranoid, and these roaches are not justified at all. They're way too fucking fast. With all the information that he's shown you, which is what we just talked about, the 3 things we just said, you could have fucking easily gotten away with 2-base, 3-gas saturation and been totally fine, and then made roaches, and you actually would have had a good economy. Your economy right now is garbage because you don't have a layer, even started still, and you don't have any extra gases. They're super late now, and yeah, these roaches, if they walk across the map, if your opponent was going for mass speedlings, he would easily kill these. This is a terrible attack. You don't want to attack like this. If you just play Beta Gym style, you would just win. Also, Spinecrawler makes no sense with how early you got roaches.
Mutation complete.
I'm going to show you an example, okay? I'm going to show you an example. 5 minutes. I want to show you something. You're at 5 minutes, right? I'm gonna actually kind of brush through this replay a little bit faster now, and I'm gonna give you an example of how to actually build properly, and I want to show you something. Watch this shit. Notepad. Okay, so in this game you have at 5 minutes, you have 42 drones. You have 60 supply. No roaches have died yet, by the way. You just got into that fight just now. Not a single roach has died yet. There's no blood on the ground. But you have 60 supply. You have 42 drones. And you have 0 creep tumors. 0 creep. You have a layer that is about 75% of the way done. 75% finished layer. You have a third base. That is about, I would say, that looks like 60%. 60% finished third base. And you have 2 queens. 2 queens. And we'll leave it there, okay? That's these are like the, and we'll also, or you have, I already said 0 creep. Okay, so that's what you have so far. At 5 minutes, 42 drones, 60 supply, 0 creep. The layer that's not even done yet, and a third base that's not even done yet. The third base is fine, by the way. But the rest of it's fucked up, I would say. Now we'll go from here, okay? We'll go from here.
Swarm forces under attack.
Shit like this is why you play slow, though. Everyone does shit like this when they're not really like, when they don't pay attention to the clock and they don't pay attention to time. People play like this all the time without realizing it, and it's super inefficient. We're gonna pause it again, not right this second, but we'll pause it again in a second, in a little bit. And like, you don't need static D like this. I think you're overly paranoid. Because here's the reason why you don't need that. Here, think about it logically. The reason why you don't need static D right now. You're making a spore. You're making a spore. You're making a spore. You're making a spine. You already have a spine. The reason why you're making static D right now, 100% guaranteed, is because you're thinking to yourself, dude, mutas are annoying. And I don't want to die to mutas. But I can tell you right now, he's not going mutas, at least right this second, and here's why. You just scouted roaches with your roaches. You just saw he had roaches versus your roaches, and then you pulled back. Now, I don't want you to attack like that every game. I do not want you to attack like that every game. But you just spent a bunch of fucking resources again when you're not even you don't even have a great drone count yet. You built those static D structures when you only had like 35 drones or like 38 drones, and then you just made another round of drones just now. Like, that is not the time to make a bunch of static D, because the only way your opponent could have mutas right now at 6 minutes is if he went for like the fastest mutas he could possibly go for. Like, he just took all of his gases super fast. He skipped Zergling speed. He made a layer. He made a spire the second that shit was done. He mined all 4 gases before he was even fully saturated on both of his mineral lines. Like, he was cutting all the corners he could on his resources. And then he, you know, went for a fast gas spire. And there again, there's multiple things that tell you that he's probably not doing that. Like, number 1, the fact that he's spreading creep, which means he probably has extra queens to spread creep with. My guess would be he has more than 1 queen per hatchery. Or he sacrificed an inject, which means he's not actually utilizing as much drones as he could to spread creep. Number 2, he made a third base. You cannot fucking make a third base and rush gas like that. Number 3, you cannot make roaches and then also make mutas like that. It is impossible. So all you're doing right now is you're slowing yourself down, and you're already going into hydras as well, which is like, hydras are fine, but like, you're being paranoid by the fact that you do not need spores when hydras will do the job for you anyways. And think about this. If you're like, well, what about mutas though? What if mutas come anyways? They'll be good for later. What if you just had your hydras go like this? What if you had like 30 hydras and you go 10 of them sit there, 10 of them sit there, 10 of them sit there? Like, it'd be fine anyways. Like, if you're actually cranking out units at an efficient pace, you don't have to be worried about random bullshit that's inefficient as fuck from your opponent, where they're like rushing their stuff. This is the part where everyone kind of drops off and beat a gym because they just play, you know, super paranoid about everything. We're going to pause this again at 7 minutes, and we're going to see where you're at. I'm going to give you an example after this game. And I will literally just do a build. That is going to be a defensive build. Like Beta Gym style.
Evolution complete.
Okay, 7 minutes. So now this will be the last, or we might do one more of these after this. So at 7 minutes, you have 54 drones. You have 74 supply. You have 0 creep. You have yeah, I don't really need to talk about your layer or your third base at this point. We'll just say this: no fourth base, which is fine. It's okay. It's fine. We'll just make sure we know this. But that's like, think about this though. Isn't it crazy? This is where I might blow your mind for a second. You were playing so paranoid that between 5 minutes to 7 minutes, all you've managed to do is make 12 drones and increase your supply by 14 supply. That is fucking not good. And the reason why this is happening is because you're playing so paranoid with static D, static D, static D. You're taking all your gases while you're doing that as well. You're taking your tech and shit like that, and you're not injecting your hatcheries. This is why your build hasn't really changed much in the last 2 minutes. You're overthinking the game right now, like crazy. More units is just better than static D. Static D only makes sense if you're not able to actually defend your base, because you're either teching way too hard, which you're not doing because you're staying on Roach Hydra for a long time. You're not going like straight up Broodlords right away or some shit. Or when you move out of your base and now there's chances of you getting counterattacked because you're no longer at your base to defend your base. Having your army defensive and your static D defensive is redundancy. They both do the same fucking thing. They're both defending your base. And all that static D does when your army is redundant with your static D is static D shrinks the size of your army. It's actually not good to make static D if you're making an army that's already enough to do the job anyways. The only time it makes sense to make static D, like I've said in Beta Gym before, is if you make one spine crawler in front of your natural because your opponent is one base all-inning you and you're making drones. Then that's fine. Because that spine crawler will buy you time till you get roaches, and the queens will help too. And that's fine. But making spines and shit when you already have roaches and hydras, and making spores when you have hydras, it doesn't help you at all. It actually slows down your production like a lot. And you're moving out way too fast. You're moving out before you have hydra upgrades, and you're moving out with an awkward supply count. Like, this is not the time you want to attack him. Also, did you get tunneling claws? You did get tunneling claws. I believe that was I'm not going to hold that against you. I think that's a mistake. Because obviously you're not going for burrow. So I'm pretty sure you just accidentally got tunneling claws. I can tell you have it though, because these roaches have fucking crystals on their heads now that are like very vibrant. But that kind of shit is also going to fuck you. That's a lot of gas. Just blown for nothing.
Swarm has evolved.
You just got to play a little more patient. Because like what you just did right there is you just threw away an army that did not need to get thrown away. I mean, you're doing damage to him though. Like, luckily, it's going okay for you. Like, you're both kind of doing the same shit. You guys both have the same problem. But if either one of you played efficient, it would be rough. Okay, now we're going to back it up to just before that fight happened and look at the game clock so I can see your supply right as this is about to start. Okay? Now, up to this point, barely anything has died. Up to this point, the only thing that's died is you're like, when you had roaches and he had roaches, and like 4 or 5 roaches died for you and a couple roaches died for him. And that's about it. And like, because you also have to realize, remember, like 2 of your units that have died were 2 drones in your mineral line because of the Zerglings that killed them. And 2 of his units that died were the 2 Zerglings that died while they killed 2 drones. So like, this is not that much shit that has happened so far. This is pretty tiny. So I'm going to pause this now at, we'll make it like an even, we'll do 835. Okay. We'll go back to 835. 835. So now this is the last time we'll do this because now there's a fight that's really going to happen and it changes the pace of the game. 835. We have for you 60 drones and 118 supply and 0 creep and no 4th base. Okay, so this is the last time we'll talk about it. All right, the last time we'll talk about. We'll come back to this in a minute, but this is the last time we're going to talk about this. Now we're going to watch this replay from here on out and much faster game speed. Like probably we'll times do it all the way through this now because your game is all like in the way StarCraft 2 works is. I'll explain this one point and then we'll play it from this point. The way StarCraft 2 works is if your build opens like crap, the rest of your game will feel like crap. You don't have a build that opens weak and then becomes strong in the mid game. It does not exist. If your build falls off the wagon or falls out, like if your fucking build is like a train and it gets derailed early on in the game, it doesn't just like suddenly make up ground and like get back to where it's supposed to be. You're like once you finally like get back on track with it, it's just gonna get to everywhere it needs to be late is all it means. So your build is inefficient as fuck then. It's just super behind all game, and that's how it goes. And now we'll talk about your concepts of how to play the game from here. But I'm going to give you an example of what a good build will look like. And also, Mr. M, I will send you the replay as well in the email of what I'm going to show you, so you'll have an example build too. But your build is super far behind already. Like, you're not playing... Neither one of you are playing efficient at all. Because you're both playing way too paranoid, and you're playing personally way too aggressive. So, yeah. Now we'll just talk about how to probably best make the most of your situation. So, I mean, you're attacking. Because you're winning the fight, you should definitely maximize it. Killing the larva, or killing the lurker upgrades, or eggs was good. I would say right now what you should do, two choices. Number one, kill the drones. Or maybe kill the hatchery from right now. Just try to like kill the drones and maybe kill the hatchery. Or number two, straight up just fucking run away. You just killed a lot of his, you did a lot of damage to him, and you might, if you want to save these units, you could totally run away and be fine. And then regroup with like these units back here, and then hit him again once you've regrouped yourself. One of those should happen. If you just stand here and fight his concave though, that's incorrect. You're standing there just losing your army. So that's you're just giving him the ability to kind of like recover against you. And this applies to microing, right? This is why I think you're too aggressive, is because now you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to micro in platinum. And I don't think you should be microing in platinum. You really shouldn't. You wouldn't even have to here's the crazy thing. If you're like, well, ViBE, I need a micro in platinum though, because how else am I going to get the diamond? You want to know how you're going to get the diamond? I guarantee you, look, you see how you're 118 supply? I'm just going to quote you a number right now. I'm going to be at 200. I'm going to be at 200 at this moment in the game. With roaches and hydras, with upgrades. I will be at 200 supply when you were at 118. And imagine if you were at 200 supply when you A-moved him just a second ago. Do you know what 200 supply is? The difference of 200 supply to 118 supply in terms of hydralisk or roaches, they both cost 2 supply each. That is 82 supply, which is 41 roaches and hydras, like some combination of those. 41 fucking units. That is a blob on the screen that is about that big. That is like that big. That is about that big. Yeah, about that big. Sorry, I'm like trying to gauge it. That's about that big. That's like that big of a blob of roach hydra, like fully compressed. That's a big blob of roach hydra. So you would have easily killed him with no micro, with good macro, which is what your focus should be in Platinum League. Micro, all it does is look at your resources. Look at your larva, and look at your queen energy. 200. 186. 127. No 4th base, no creep. Like, your macro is fucking dwindling hard. This base looks okay with your transfers. This base is a little undersaturated, but it just happened, so that's acceptable. This base is not even fully saturated yet, and we're at 10 minutes in the game, which means your drone count sucks. ViBE is savage. Well, I mean, I'm trying to... Well, obviously, Mr. M, I love you, man. I'm trying to just give you the most out of this. I'm trying to give you the most benefit out of this. I'm not trying to be mean. But it is true, though. Players get caught up in the wrong things all the time in Platinum League and below. Like, they just think about... They think they understand the game in an incorrect way. And it's always how to do timings and micro and shit like that. It's not right.
Exhausted.
So you're just trying to recover, you're trying to rebuild, and look what's happening again. This is exactly what I'm talking about. What's happening right now is you're going for another attack. You're just diving on the same base again. You have not scouted this base. 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 You have no idea if this dude is expanding on the other side of the map. You have no idea. Like, if I had everyone's vision, he might be. He's right there. Which is just a thing. But the point I'm trying to make here is this is scary if you're going to be the Zerg player who's going to actually be the aggressive one when you have less economy than your opponent, potentially. Because if you didn't kill this base, you would have had less economy than your opponent because he already has a 4th base mining. And you killed this base a minute ago. Secondly, not only do you have less economy than your opponent, you have less tech than your opponent because your opponent already showed you from the very first attack you did with Hydras that he's going lurkers, and you don't have lurkers or detection. You have no overseer with your army, or you do. Just kidding, you do. Okay, that's good. Thank God you have that. But you have no lurkers. You have the inferior tech at the moment. I'm glad you have a hive, but you have no lurker den yourself, and you're just going Roach Hydra, which I'm not going to say is the worst thing in the world. I like your upgrade is going to level 3. That's nice. But you're being so aggressive, and you're doing it blindly. This is the part that's scary is you could easily throw this game away by running into lurkers. You could easily throw it away because you're not macroing very well behind it. So if your opponent takes a cost-efficient fight, that's totally fine if your economy can overpower that. But if you're the one with an inferior economy, then you can't do that anymore. You have to play cost-efficient then. And we're running into lurkers, so you're backing off. That's nice. You're coming over here. He rotates. He gets banelings all over your army. That was definitely cost efficient for your opponent. And now, like, see what I'm saying though? Like, there was no need to attack him there. There was zero need because 195 energy queen, 200 energy queen, 200 energy queen. Like, the macro is just non-existent for purple. 3,000 minerals in the bank. If you focused on macro, if you were maxed again in that fight, look at the supply still. You would have crushed his ass. If either one of you just macroed at all, either one of you would crush the other one. The reason why this game is still going on and it's still close is because neither one of you actually macros. Like, let's look at his economy. He's got a 57 energy queen. He's got a 110 energy queen. He's got a 61 energy queen. He's at least injecting a little bit better than you are. But even he is having, like, he's spending his money a little bit better. But, I mean, you definitely, like, fucked him over a little bit earlier on. But, like, when you killed a lot of his drones over here and shit like that, like, you definitely did good damage there. It was good damage the first time. But then you threw the army away. You threw another army away. Like, it's just, like, you did good damage, but now it's getting thrown away because it's overly aggressive. So if you just max out and then attack. Look at those queens. 200, 200, 200. That shit's unacceptable. That's your problem right there. Like, lack of macro. This game is 14 minutes, and neither one of you has hit 150 supply threshold yet. Neither one of you have even touched 150 supply yet, and it's almost 14 minutes in the game. You can max between 8 and 9 minutes. And it's because you're both playing this, like, awkward game. I'll have to keep saying it over and over. And this is exactly why I'm saying, like, this is why I'm watching this on times 2 now, is because this game has been derailed, and you're both just playing this fucking super awkward game now. It's just derailed.
Mineral cluster expended. Mineral field depleted.
And that looks like it's going to finish. And now there are probably lurkers in your base.
Exhausted.
still kill them though. Like lurkers are more cost efficient than Roach Hydra, but it doesn't matter if you have like 100 supply more than he has in lurkers. Like in, you know, he's only got like 4 lurkers and you have like 100 supply of Roach Hydra and jumping on them. The only way that lurkers would win is if Roaches and Hydras had to engage in a hallway that was like 1 unit wide and they just kept coming one by one by one by one.
Geyser depleted. Swarm forces under attack.
Let's look at those injects. 200,
Mineral
200, 200. Idle drones like crazy, but yet there's an attack going into lurkers again. Again, too aggressive. And you keep attacking the same exact base every single time. Remember what I said about scouting bases? You saw this one later, which would be a better base to kill, but now you also just saw a drone transfer with an Overlord that died going that way. So I already know he has this base. Imagine if you attack this base, the most exposed, newest base. He's got this base going up now too. You just don't scout enough. So 2 problems for you are, number 1, your macro is definitely having problems. You got to fix that, which is, I'm going to give you an example of how to do that. Try to copy the example like exactly. The second way to fix your problem would be every time you're going to make an attack, don't even have the idea that you're going to micro in the fight. But at least before you take the fight, when you're almost going to max, scout the map with something. A changeling or a roach or something. That way you can actually see, oh, he's got shit over here. Like he's got a base over here. So you could be like, oh, let's attack this, then go there. And then the next time you want to take a fight, you could be like, oh, he's got a new base over here. Let's attack that, then that, then that. Don't just always go, I got to kill this base. 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 Because look what this guy's done every time. Lurkers have been defending this base every single time. We'll even back it up before your fight even happens here. Lurkers have always been at this base every time. You haven't even attacked yet. He doesn't know where you are. But look, this base is completely exposed. This base is completely exposed. This base is overly defended. And why is that? Because the pattern has been established that you keep attacking this base. And you're attacking it again. So he feels comfortable defending this base. And you show up again. And he's, you know, over defending this base. And there is nothing defending this base over here. And there's nothing defending this base over here. What are Corruptors for? Probably because they both want to go Broodlord, I would imagine. They both probably want to go Broodlord. Which is fine. And now you're getting kind of fucked because you've put yourself into an all-in, Mr. M. I'm sorry to say it, but you have essentially put yourself into an all-in because your opponent is on 6 bases. You have not scouted most of them. And you're on 4 bases still. And you're not injecting. You're literally just, you're repeatedly falling in the trap of feeling like you have to attack. Your opponent's macro is not pristine. Your macro is not pristine. If either one of you macroed the way I'm going to show you in a second, which is so fucking easy, by the way. It's not even hard. It's playing without paranoia, essentially. Either one of you would win if you did that. And now you're going to die because you don't have an economy that can match his at all anymore. And he, not only does he have a better economy than you, he has better tech than you. Because he has just more tech than you do. You guys both have Broodlords, but he has Lurker. And you don't. So you're fucked. And you don't have an army that can stop it right now. So check this out. Mr. M, I got you, bro. So remember how we wrote this down? On this notepad? We're going to compare now. I'm going to do my own version for you. I'm going to literally just do a B2GM build myself. And I'll just do it as I think a Platinum could handle it. And we'll see, right? We'll see. I hope this helps you though, dude. But you know, that map was Death Aura, so I'm going to make that map again too, just to make it unison. But it's all just like, literally, pay attention to your clock of the game and macro. Because if you, honestly, if you think that that's B2GM, that is not B2GM. You did B2GM for about the first 60 seconds, and then it no longer was. Okay. Zerg, whatever. And I wrote down all the supplies up, and if you remember, these are all supplies that basically were what you had up until nothing had really happened. 2 Zerglings and 2 drones died before the 7-minute mark, and 4 roaches died for you. before the 8:35 mark. Four roaches. 4 roaches is fucking nothing at that point in the game. It's fucking nothing. Now check this out. I'm gonna make a drone, make an overlord. I'm gonna stack close patches. Grab a drone, stack a close patch. Grab a drone, stack a close patch. I have successfully done it. That's how hard it was right there. I had to put a drone back on it. It's fine. But I'm done. That's it. That's all you gotta do. I just stacked close patches. Mission completed. It took 2 seconds to do that. That's why I'm saying it's so easy for people to do that if you just practice it. It was not hard at all to do that. You just got to know that it's important to do it. Okay, now I'm going to take one of my larvae, put it on a 1 drone patch, take or I'm going to take another drone just off a patch really quickly. And I'm going to go down and take my natural because I want to take it at 300. And there we go. Good shit. Easy peasy. Keep making drones. We'll make drones to 18. Drones, cool. Because again, the build is 16, 18, 20 for the opener. So now we can grab a drone. We can put it down back here because we're about to build it, and I build it right on top of the drone, so it builds immediately. I don't build it down here or something. So I literally have my mouse over my drone while I have the drone selected, and I go BS click for build spawning pool click. And then I make drones again until I have 20 supply. I can send a drone to my gas. I hit 20 supply. I build my gas. And then I can rally my hatcheries down to my natural. I rallied the egg to the gas. It's fine. I'm still making drones, by the way. I can grab 2 more drones. Any drone that's like rotating around that doesn't know where to mine, I can just be like, hey, go mine that gas. And now look, I have 2 drones a patch. 2 drones, 2 drones, 2 drones, 2 drones, 2 drones, 2 drones, 2 drones. 2 drones in every patch. Hatchery's done. I rallied all my hatcheries to the new patches down here. Whatever. You can put them both in the same patch. Who gives a shit? Now I have this overlord going here. This overlord can go here like we talked about. Because I'll cover the doors of his base. And now I have another overlord that can now go up here. So 3 overlords on the 3 doorways of his base. Overlord 4 can go like right here for my first doorway. And then 5 and 6, whatever. I have not made my wall because it's not, an inject isn't done yet. I make another queen because this queen's done. I make my lair. Okay, we can pull our overlord back for a second. We have another overlord coming over here. Just whatever. All the doorways are going to be committed to eventually anyways. Make another overlord right there. That's another overlord from my doorway to my bases. And now inject is popping off, and I have barely enough money to spend it to build everything. So I'm gonna make all my larvae, inject my hatcheries again. Now I'm gonna grab 3 drones, and I'm gonna go up here and go roach one, space it by 1, evo, evo. Now I have a doorway. I'm still making drones, and now I make my gases. As soon as you build these 3 buildings first, then you build your gases after. I'm still making drones, by the way, the whole time. And I have my extra queen making creep tumor. So now I can actually have creep vision and coverage with queens over my base and shit like that. It helps versus mutas a lot. So if you're paranoid about mutas, imagine how much easier it would be to defend mutas if you actually had creep spread to make queens and hydras more active and mobile. Okay, I'm gonna saturate my gases. I have more drones in production. I can start making roaches in a second here. And I can also get ready to take my 3rd base, because that's when you want to take your 3rd base. I can start my upgrades. And I can start making roaches. And I'll take my 3rd as soon as I can afford it. Okay, let's go take another creep tumor. Make more roaches. We're not going mass roaches either. We're not going to attack him either. We're just making defensive roaches to cover our ass while we drone. We can inject. We can inject. Okay, we made 8 roaches. That's plenty. 8 roaches is plenty right now. Now let's go back to making drones. I rallied all my hatcheries to my 3rd because I'm fully saturated on my other bases, and this hatchery is already like almost halfway done. Spread some creep, spread some creep, spread some creep. We can make 1 more final creep tumor in my main base. We can even get a carapace upgrade. Put that creep tumor like there, and then have this queen go to my 4th. Okay, let's go ahead and throw down a Hydrogen because we're just going to grab one of the drones that's transferring to my third. And we'll just use one of those. We can even tell our drones at this point because the hatchery is basically done. Grab the drones that are running away and be like, hey, come here. And I want to have you turn in the minerals like that. Hit return cargo, and there you go. Inject our bases. Make drones. He's attacking me, so let's go ahead and attack him with our roaches. Not even micro a single thing. Inject my hatcheries. Make drones. Let's make a fourth base. Because why? My hatchery's fully saturated. And we want our economy to keep running smoothly. We can also take one drone and build the gas there. Okay, so we're going to fill in the rest of our gases. I just made 2 drones and rallied them to this gas. I put the rest of the drones on the gas. I'm going to rally 3 drones that I just built right now onto that gas. I am now done. Let's make hydras. And let's start hydra upgrades while we're at it. We can inject, or creep tumor, inject, inject, inject. Make hydra upgrades. Get weapon upgrade. Make hydras. Make overlords. And we're just chilling. I've just macroed. All I've done is I saturated 2 bases. I made 8 safety roaches. I saturated a 3rd base. I've taken a 4th base. And now I'm making roach hydra. That's all I've done. Nothing too crazy. And I've spread creep in the meantime while I'm just like moving my camera and waiting for shit to happen. Make more hydras. Inject. Can't inject yet. Inject. Can't inject yet. Okay, let's set. So we have a good supply of safety. We have like a lot of roach hydra now. Let's just make a final round of drones. We're at 66. Let's make a final round of drones from like 120, starting at 120 supply. We're gonna make a final round of drones for our 4th base. Keep injecting your bases every time you can. Maybe throw a carapace upgrade in there. Since we're at 2-2 upgrades started as well, we can throw down an infestation pit, so we can eventually go to a hive and go through 3. Well, we mouse over the supply on top right, and we go, oh look, we're in the 80 mark now. 83. Great, wonderful. Let's go ahead and like just go back to making hydras again. Inject bases. Inject, inject, inject. Get another hydra upgrade. Go back to making hydras. Now let's take one roach and go A move, A move, A move, A move with shift. Another roach to grab one of these other ones and go hold shift, A move, A move, A move, A move, A move. So we just scouted every expansion on the map before we're going to attack him. So we're not going to walk blindly to his base. We have an idea of where we want to fight. Keep spreading creep. Spread creep. Spread creep. Inject. Make hydras. Make overlords. Inject. Inject. He just pooped on my hydrogen, so that upgrade's going to get delayed a little bit, but it's fine. Let's go ahead and take another base because our main base is mining out, so we want to take another base because that's the rule of macro. It's a big rule of macro. And now look at the bases we've just found. No bases other than his natural, so it looks like we're attacking the natural, right? It looks like we're going to attack the natural. And now we are maxed out with 2-2 upgrades about to be done. And hives on the way, so we're about to be going to level 3. So now we know we're going to attack, so let's select all army. Let's go like this. A move, shift A move. And then grab our overseers and go like this. Overseer, follow a hydralisk. That way, it's a range unit that's in the back, so if there's lurkers and shit, my overseer doesn't just fly into a fucking spore crawler. Now we're mining out. Remember how I started a 5th base? Grab some drones, and let's transfer to a base, like transfer 2 off. Shift click off 2, transfer the rest over here. Rally all hatcheries over here for droning. Spread some creep. We can inject first, actually. It's always a priority. Inject. And then spread some creep. And while we spread creep, we're going to make hydras. Spread some creep. Spread some creep. Make hydras. Spread some creep. Make hydras. Spread some creep. Wonderful.
Mutation complete.
And we're just looking at our economy. Good. This is bad. Fix it. It's red. Red is bad. White is good. 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 Hive is done. 3-3 upgrades. Good. We don't have to worry about that anymore. That's going to be done for the rest of the game. Now we can go into Lurker Den, Spire. This allows us to have lurkers if we want to go lurkers. This allows us to go into Greater Spire if we want to go Brood Lords. We can make 2 new drones to fix those drones. We just took off the mineral and we rallied them to the patch. Inject. 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 Good. Creep. 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 Notice how I haven't given a fuck about my army the entire time? That's exactly how you should play the game as well. And then if you go, oh, well, I got a lot of units here and my army's still a big blob over there. How about I just A-move him again? And then tell my overseer to follow a hydra again. forget about it. Take 2 seconds to do that. Go back to injecting. 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 Stop microing everything. So many people over micro and they don't. The reason why it's okay that I have 4,000 minerals in the bank and 1,400 gas in the bank is because I've been maxed the entire time. But if I were to lose my max, look how much larva I have. I have pages of larva. I don't have like 12 larvae and that's it because I haven't been injecting. All my queens have no energy because all I've done is I've maximized injects the entire time. So if I do lose a bunch of units, remax, 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 remax. Now check this out. Let's go back and watch this. Compare timers. 5 minutes is the first one. This is crazy. It might blow your mind. People don't pay attention to shit like this, but it might blow your mind. 5 minutes. I did nothing crazy, nothing attack oriented, nothing super hardcore. But at 5 minutes, for you, we had 42 drones. I have 46. Similar drone count, so not so bad at the start. 42 to 46 drones. You had 60 supply. I have 76 supply. So I'm already 16 supply ahead. You had 0 creep tumors. I have 7. So I already have my bases all connected. You had a 70. Your layer was only 75% of the way done. My roach speed is like 90% of the way done, or like 85. So my layer's been done for a while because that roach speed can't even start until the layer is done. So that was, you know, like my layer's been up for a while now, and my roach speed is already almost finished. And then your third base was only 60% of the way done. Our third base is about, I would say, like 75. So third base, your third base time and your drone time are close to mine. They're both a little bit behind. But your creep is massively behind. Your layer was massively behind. And you only had 2 queens, and I have 3. Which is why I actually have creep. My third queen is right there. This third queen is the one that made every tumor that I have. Now, what was the next timer? 7 minutes. So keep in mind, you were close. This is the big one. You were close in the supply and the drone count and the third base. Those 3 things you were kind of close on, especially the drones on the third base. Supply, meh. Like you were 14, or you were, sorry, you were 16 supply behind. So that is a little bit of a number there. But when you're comparing 76 to 60, that's kind of a lot. But the drone count and the third base were similar. But look at this. 7 minutes is the next one. Let's see how close you are at 7 minutes. This is when you played the super paranoid static D and all that shit. And you hadn't taken any of your gases yet because you were making so many roaches and hydras.
Mutation.
7 minutes. Okay, so 7 minutes. Now look at this. At 7 minutes, you had 54 drones. I have 66 drones. You had 74 supply. I have 128 supply. You had 0 creep. I have 16 creep tumors. You had no 4th base. I have a 4th base finishing right now. It's done. So this is a massive difference. Like, you were somewhat close at 5 minute mark. You're massively behind now at the 7 minute mark. So what does that mean? It means that your build up is fucking you over. And some of the things that fucked you over are you make way too much shit way too fast, like we talked about. Like, all this stuff adds up. I'm just kind of showing you how much it adds up. I don't have to reiterate everything again. But all these little things add up pretty hard, and they slow you down like crazy. So it's actually insane that at 7 minutes, I already have a lead on your supply by 54 supply. I have 54 more supply than you at 7 minutes. I almost have, in the amount of supply that I have that is more than you, that is almost your entire supply at that moment in the game. That's crazy, right? And now let's look at 835. 835, I already have more supply than you do. Right now, I have 10 more supply than you did a minute and 35 seconds from now. And as you still hadn't fought him yet. I wrote this number down right before you guys took a fight. So now we'll go to 835.
Evolution. Swarm forces under attack. Mineral.
Okay, so 835. At 835, remember how I said I'm going to be at 200? I'm at 199 supply. But 60 at 835, you had 60 drones. I have 85. You had 118 supply. I have 199. I'm maxed. You have 0 creeps still. I have 21 tumors. And you had still no 4th base even started. And my 4th base is fully saturated for the drones being efficient. And I already have a 5th base started. So the goal here is not only just how fast can you max out, it's how well can you not only max out really quick, but stay efficiently maxed the entire time. Maintain good saturations on every base all the time. Maintain good injects all the time. Like for the longest time, you had 200 energy on like all of your queens just sitting there next to your hatchery doing nothing with them. And you had 3,000 minerals with 200 energy on your queens, which meant you weren't even using the larvae on your hatcheries either because you were not macroing at all because you were full on attacking the entire time. Like, you won't have to micro if you have more shit to macro. I'm telling you right now, you could like this is a fact that I don't want this to sound insulting, but it's super true. If I played against someone who macros to these levels right here, and I just did, I literally never microed a single unit. You could micro as long as you want, and you would lose every game because you cannot micro 74 supply against 128 supply and come out ahead very effectively. It's super fucking hard to do that. And you cannot micro 118 supply versus 200 and come out ahead because it's super hard to do that. So if you keep putting yourself in the situation where you always have these massive supply disadvantages because you over micro and do not macro, it doesn't matter how hard you micro, you're going to run into these brick walls where your opponents will run you over because they can just macro normally. Like my macro this game is what's expected. It's not even like, holy fuck, ViBE has GM level macro right now. No, it's just expected. This is how you're supposed to play StarCraft. This is what's required out of you. And the only reason why people can micro and macro at the same time in high level leagues is because they can multitask, but players in lower level leagues, they sacrifice macro to micro, as we just saw last game. Do not ever sacrifice your macro to micro. That is bad. That is super bad because it puts you in negative positions all the time then. Like it's indirectly killing your own units without even realizing it because you just don't have them now. And you'll die because of that. So I hope this makes sense. Mr. M. Yo, Mr. M, I hope like I said before, I'm going to send you the replay. I will send you the replay, and obviously I'll send you this VOD as well for the replay analysis, so you'll not only get a visual from how I talk about it, but you'll also get the replay where you can watch visually the example of how I played it every time over and over and over, and you can break it down and speed it up as you like. But I hope this helps. Mr. M, thank you. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, so until then, much love, take it easy. And if you're someone who also wants the replay, I'll put it on my, I'll put the replay in my Discord, so just join my Discord. You can find my Discord through my stream. The link to join it. And my stream is just twitch.tv/ViBELOL if you're watching this on YouTube. It's also linked on the video if you scroll the information page. My stream link is literally in there, so you can just click it. But my Discord's linked on my stream, and you can just click that. And then if you go to the replay analysis channel on my Discord, the replay is going to be called Mr. M example, all one word, just like that. Mr. M example, MRM example. You can just Control F, find it, whatever, and it'll be there. So if you want it, there you go. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, much love. Take it easy. Good luck. I'll see you next time. Later, guys. See ya.